Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Developer's Guide to Customizable Embedded BI from Integration to Interaction. We're going to go through a bunch of different examples on how you can customize Reveal and make it more suitable to your application experience that you're trying to build out for your customers. As usual, with me today is Casey McGuigan, the Reveal Product Manager, also the Slingshot Product Manager, and many other things at Infragistics. And of course, my name is Jason Beres, a Senior VP here at Infragistics. Our emails, cmcguigan and jasonb@infragistics.com. Please contact us if you'd like to follow up on anything from today's demos. So what's the agenda for today? We're going to look at customizing Reveal. We're going to do a demo, and then we'll wrap up. Mostly the focus is going to be code and samples. We'll have one slide or two slides, and then we'll jump right into it. Some housekeeping, recording, and slides will be available tomorrow in a follow-up email. Please ask questions in the chat or questions window. If you're using the chat, which we recommend, make sure you say to hosts and everyone, we all see the question and answer because others probably have the same questions that you do. Let's go ahead and get started. Customizing Reveal is the whole point of our SDK. Reveal is meant to be embedded in your apps. Our goal is to give you APIs that allow this level of customization in the user experience that you're bringing to your customer. There's APIs on the client, there's APIs on the server. Today, we're going to be focused on those client-side APIs, which really affect the user experience that you have in your app. We've done a bunch of webinars on theming and branding, the JavaScript API. There's so much stuff on YouTube about customizing the Reveal API. We're going to do a few different ones today that we really haven't gotten into before, but at the same time, we have a ton of samples already on GitHub that I'm going to show you where you can just go grab these samples and get working immediately. So this means multiple options for the experiences that you'd like to deliver. How do I customize menus, filters, tooltips, linking, all of the things that change how people will interact or how your users will interact with your application. All of this is available in that client-side API. There's two areas that you work with when you're working with the JavaScript library. First and foremost is the Reveal SDK settings object. This is global. You're going to set things on the Reveal SDK settings that apply to all of the Reveal views, let's say, in your application. And then the Reveal view is actually that individual div, which is loading up a dashboard. So for example, SDK settings, you might be setting the theme because that covers the entire app. On the Reveal view for a page, you might have can edit equals false, or can edit equals true, can export to Excel. It really just depends on what you're trying to achieve, where you would set it. And keep in mind, as I said, everything today is about this JavaScript API that you have access to customize the experience for your users. A key page that you will be seeing in my demo today is the SDK samples JavaScript. If you're a customer or you're in a POC now, I talk about this all the time because there are individual samples with client and server code which demonstrate everything that I'm going to show today, plus a ton more. Make sure that you're aware of our GitHub repos. I also have code in my own repo that we're going to show today. The idea is we're a developer tools company. Reveal is an SDK. There's lots of code samples for you to get started. We want you to be successful, and we want you to be able to deliver those types of experiences that your customers expect in the applications that you are building for them. So with that, let's get right to a demo and look at a few of those: customizing menus, doing dashboard linking, changing filters, etc., that you might want to do when you're building out a Reveal experience. The first demo that I want to start with is a sample that's up on GitHub. It's called Dashboard Viewer. So let me see, I'll grab the correct GitHub page here. It's at github.com, jberes, Dashboard Viewer. I'll paste that up in the chat in a little bit. But the idea is with Dashboard Viewer is that it is a client and server app, which kind of gives you everything that we're going to talk about today in a an entire experience. So I've got my dashboards here. I've got my overflow. I've got some custom buttons. If I go into edit mode, I can edit a visualization. I'm going to show you guys how to implement things like dashboard linking, which maybe I don't have enabled here. Oh, actually, no. Let me jump over to this visualization and edit this guy. We'll jump over to settings, and you can see I've got my dashboard link here because it's the type of chart that supports it, where you can get thumbnails, like beautiful, friendly-looking thumbnails. All of this is important to how you build out your application. I'm going to click the X. I'll click the X here. We're going to do filters and dynamic filters. You can see here I've got a little flyout. All of my thumbnails are generated with the Reveal API. When I do a lot of demos, people want to say, well, how do I get those thumbnails? Just go up to GitHub. You've got the thumbnail builder sample. And then in the dashboard viewer, I'm also using the thumbnail builder to actually do that. This is a really slick example. Shows all kinds of great capabilities here. Like this is how I can link back and forth between dashboards. It's basically complete. If you create your own dashboards with your own data sources and just use this sample, it works. Like this is sort of a template that will allow you to not only do viewing, to do editing, but you can also create new dashboards. It just makes it really easy. And both the thumbnail builder and the dashboard viewer app are up on GitHub as well. I did mention SDK samples, JavaScript, everything that you can imagine with Reveal. We have a sample up here. Well, mostly everything. There's still things that customers surprise us. They want to do certain things, and there seems to always be a way to do something, even if you kind of jump into CSS and JavaScript to do it. And then, of course, you've got documentation. So the Reveal docs are pretty robust. All kinds of getting started if you haven't used Reveal before. But, all of the things that you might want to do on that Reveal view, for example, that we talked about. These are all Reveal view type settings that we are going to look at. So first, let us open up Visual Studio Code. And I've got a few samples here. We're just going to walk through some samples and see how we affect the application. First and foremost, what I want to highlight is how easy it is to get started with Reveal. So again, Reveal is embedded in your app, which means it's not an iframe. So in your application, you're going to have a div. That div has an ID of something, and you're going to reference that like as a native element in React or Angular. Or here, I just have a selector because I'm just going to use plain old JavaScript today. So I have my Reveal view. What do I want to do with my Reveal view? Well, I want to call the load dashboard function, which is part of a Reveal, which is the $IG. You might recognize a $. One of the requirements we have is jQuery for those selectors. We also require day.js, and this is our latest JavaScript file up on our CDN. If you're doing a POC, of course, you can download this JavaScript file along with the TypeScript so you get autocomplete when you're working with Reveal. But all I want to do is load a dashboard called Customer Analysis. This dashboard is accessing data that's coming in from SQL Server. That's very straightforward, and that's what we're going to be working on today. So if I right-click and I view this in the browser, this is Reveal. Here is my dashboard. Now, I have this dashboard in this sample as a basic load. So if we're going to minimize this guy, let's take a look at index-webinar. And I've got a few more things happening here. So there's a lot of code that's commented out, and we're going to sort of walk through a bunch of this code. So you can see I've got things like tooltips. I've got things like custom menu options. I've got dashboard linking. I've got custom filters, all kinds of neat things. And in fact, we do all of our support on Discord, and there were some questions about filtering on Discord. Maybe if you're online today watching this webinar, some of those questions will be answered. But let's just right-click on this guy, view him in the browser, and you can see that it's the same customer analysis that I just loaded. So let's just go ahead and we will close that guy, and we'll just leave this one open. This does what you would expect. I've got my date time filters. I have some country filters. Let's go ahead and select a couple guys here. Click apply. I've selected 2 countries. It's updated all of the other visualizations in my dashboard. If I go and I select all again, I'm back to normal. When I click a visualization, I will get things like drill down actions and drill up actions based on the visualization. I may or may not have that. So this is orders by customer. There are no options for drill up, drill down, link, etc., and all that good stuff. Here I have a tree map. So of course, tree maps have things like drill up, drill down, just usual stuff. Let's look at a couple basic things first, because one of the things that we do with a Reveal is that we release features even though they're not ready, and we call those beta features. You'll remember in the first sample, just the load dashboard, I set my base URL, I have my Reveal view, I'm calling load dashboard, and the base URL is set on the Reveal SDK settings. There's a couple other SDK settings I want you to be aware of. One of them is called Enable Beta Features. I'm not going to use Enable Beta Features today because we have another flag which also enables a beta feature, which is called Enable Actions Hover on Tooltip. Now, what this is going to do is give us a different style of tooltip when we run the app. And what I want you to do is, if I just save this again, and we'll go back and we'll look at our dashboard, and I'll do a quick refresh. When I hover over, you can see that the dashboard is on a consistent plane. It doesn't move with my mouse. And in order to see any options, I must click, and then I get my options, my drill up, my drill down, etc. So what does Enable Actions on Hover Tooltip do? Let's go ahead and save this, and we'll go back to our dashboard. Let's do a refresh. Now what you're going to see is that when I'm hovering over my visualization, the drill down options are available to me. I don't have to click. It's clear and it's obvious that there is something that I can do with this visualization that I happen to be interacting with. So this is sort of maybe you would think it should be the default feature, but Reveal's been around for a long time, and that previous experience was what still exists today. If you want to use this particular hover feature, just enable it in that code. Eventually, this will be the default. But you can see here that the tooltip follows my mouse, so it's just a nicer experience. Now, along with this feature, we kind of are grouping a few features together. There is another feature on the Reveal view called Interactive Filtering Enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this, and I want to enable interactive filtering. What does interactive filtering do? Well, let's go back to our dashboard, and I'll do a refresh. And what we'll see is not only do we have our drill down, but we have a filter option. So automatically, what we're doing is looking at all of the visualizations on a dashboard or in a dashboard. And if there are options to filter, we will enable the filter in the tooltip. And when you select it, so for example, I'm hovering over Earned, I select Earned, I've filtered out the grid, the order date, the order amount, all this order shipments country, and I've added a filter option up here separated by a little separator. Now, if I hover over here and I want to filter by 1997, so now I'm looking at all the Earned orders from the year 19 or January 1st, 1997 to January 1st, 1998. So there you go. Very easy to enable things like interactive filtering and interactive drill downs, which again, these are like great delighters for your customers because you want them to be able to interact with the data. They want to do data analysis. So doing things like this just seem to be like a no-brainer, super easy to implement. And again, these are beta features. So we are still refining them. We're getting customer feedback. Feel free to enable interactive filtering and enable actions on Hover Tooltip and give us feedback, see what your customers have to say about it. Now, let's talk about one of my more favorite features, and that is dashboard linking. So dashboard linking is the ability to go from one dashboard to another dashboard, or from one dashboard, taking the context of the data you happen to be hovering over and maybe passing it to a page in your application. So you'll see here, there's two dashboard linking functions. One of them is Reveal View on Dashboard Selector Requested, and one of them is on Link Provider Async. By just default, if you want to link from one dashboard to another, but you don't want your users to have to create dashboard links, just make sure you have the on-link dashboard provider async. If you want to allow them to add their own dashboard linking, then you would do the on dashboard selector requested. The difference here is you'll notice there's a call to open dialog. So if we scroll down a bit, you'll see I have some code here called open dialog. I'm going to uncomment open dialog. We'll do that. Open dialog also has another function called create thumbnail. Now in my code, I am not actually going to create the thumbnail. My thumbnail is sort of just going to be like a default looking button. It's not a beautiful thumbnail like the sample that I showed you before. But dashboard linking is a very powerful feature that once people see it, they're like, oh, please, how do I get that working in my application? So let's see what the difference is in the app now that I've enabled dashboard linking. So I'm going to hit refresh. There are no dashboards linked in my application yet. I didn't do any of that, but what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to edit mode, and I want to edit the customer's dashboard or the customer's visualization. And just so you know, what am I trying to link to? I have another dashboard that I already created called order analysis, and I have another one called customer invoices, and we're going to link over to those dashboards. So let's go to edit. Now I'm in edit mode. I'm going to go to settings, and you'll notice I have this links option now. This was not visible before, so unless you enable that link provider, you're not going to see this. Now clicking the plus dialog brings up this reveal dialog, which is saying, hey, what do you want to link to, a dashboard or a URL? So you could actually just pass this to like, mysite.com, and then what am I going to navigate to? Whatever I want to navigate to, but the nice thing is you can pass parameters to that. Well, I want to say, let's navigate to company name, orders. That's going to show me company name.orders, and my parameter is going to be the same thing. Actually, let's do customer ID. So maybe I want to show customer ID. So I got mysite.com, parameter customer ID, and I'm going to do company name.orders. And just so you can see this, let's just say customer ID, and we're going to say customer ID. You can see what these parameters look like. I'm going to create the link. Of course, I don't have anything like that in my application, but let's click the checkbox. Let's click the checkbox. Now you'll notice there is a link available to me in the grid. So if I select this, it's saying Anna Trujillo, orders, customer ID, Anatar. This one here is Antonio Morenas, customer ID, Anton. So I'm just passing these parameters to some arbitrary page. Of course, I don't have that page in my application, so it's really not going to go anywhere. Oh, it looks like there was a page there, mysite.com/Anton, so it did pass the correct parameter. But what we want to do is go back to edit mode. I'm going to edit this guy again. Let's go back here. We can edit this or delete it, so let's go ahead and we can delete all this stuff. We're not going to use any of it. Let's delete all of this, and I want to do a dashboard link. So let's go ahead and select another dashboard. So what's happening here? I have an API on my server that's saying, give me all the dashboards that are available to me, and then we're building this in that open dialog method that I have in my JavaScript. So what I want to look at here is my order analysis view, which is another dashboard. You can see here we pop a thumbnail in, and it's going to say here, open order analysis view. Now, if I select, for example, order analysis, oh, wow, that looks like it's a slightly different dashboard, and it's giving me a different option here. So what it wants to do is attempt to connect the customer ID that I have, or the customer or some parameter, to that other dashboard. So let's click connect, and you'll see here I've got order analysis. I want to connect the customer to the customer ID in this dashboard. So if I click done and I click save link, and we check the box and we check the box, we click the link, open order analysis view. I'm hovering over Alfred's footer key, and look, it passed the customer ID in, and now I'm simply looking at the Alfred's footer ski data. Let's go back. We'll look at like Bone App, and we'll open up the order analysis view for Bone App. And look, now I've only filtered this dashboard dynamically through a dashboard link by Bone App. So if we go back here, we can make it a little clearer. Let's go to edit, and we'll do the same thing that we just did. I'm going to add the a parameter here. So let's go ahead and edit this guy. And instead of just saying open order analysis view, I'm going to say orders for, and then for who, let's just do the customer ID. Save that link, check the box. Now orders for Blom P. Now we're passing over to Blom P. I didn't have to do anything special for this. The order analysis dashboard, if we go back here to load dashboard, and let's change customer analysis here to order analysis. Let's save this. We'll view it in the browser. That just happens to be a dashboard that I had saved earlier. Whoops, what did I do wrong here? Let's go to inspect. And blah, 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 reveal view, do order analysis R dash. How is that possible? Maybe the file name and the dashboard name are different. So, it's orders. Sorry, orders analysis. Always a quick check there. Thank you, developer tools. And this just picked customer. Now, if I just select Anton, click apply, there's the Anton data. So if I was just looking at this dashboard on its own, it has a dashboard filter. So what I'm doing with dashboard linking is I'm actually dynamically passing in a link from one dashboard to another. I can do that with an arbitrary page, or I can do it with a dashboard link. So let's click the back button, and we're back here right to where we were. Remember, I still have my hover tooltips with filtering, and I have all this good stuff. So all the things that matter to me. But what about filters? How can we dynamically deal with filters? A lot of people don't like this filter UI. They have maybe a filter dialog that they're going to create their own dates for and all that good stuff. So Reveal has an entire filtering API that allows you to pass variables back and forth from Reveal over to your app or your app to Reveal. So let's take a look and add a little bit more UI here in my index webinar to make that happen. So let's scroll back up, and you'll notice I've got some CSS up here. I've got a container, div, I've got a menu, I've got my reveal view, which of course we've already been using, thumbnail box we just used. So what I want to do is I want to uncomment some of this code here. So let's uncomment this guy, and I want to uncomment some date filters, and I want to uncomment some of these filters here, which we're going to get and set what filters are in the application. So what you'll see here is, well, we'll just run it and you can see what I did. Let's go ahead and view this in the browser. I added a bunch of buttons here. Yeah, they don't look beautiful, but what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate the dashboard with these filters. So I have a button here, set date to 1996. I could go to the date time filter, and I could go and change this to any year that I want and, kind of go through that whole thing, or I can set it through code. So if I click set date to 1996, what this did is it actually set the date filter to 1996, and then all of these visualizations were updated. Set date to 1997, all the visualizations were updated. Set time to all, now it's back to default. So what I have here is just some simple functions that are setting date and time and passing that into my reveal view. Same with my text filter. So this drop down here has all of my countries that I've linked. Let's set this to Germany. So now I filtered out everything that is connected to my filter, but I've done it dynamically. We can set multiple filters. So here I'm setting, I think, Germany and the UK. I can get the list of filters. So here is my filter list. I want to list all of my country filters. There we go. I could select each one of these individually. You can see how I'm loading this up with all of my own UI. This has no interaction with Reveal, or no interaction with the default filter bar. It's all your own custom filter. So here you have a nice experience for whatever UI you want to build. You don't like our date time picker? Build your own. You don't like our filter dialog? Build your own. Just use our API to actually interact with it. So if we go back to index webinar, Here, all of these button click events like set all time, set 1997, set Germany filter. If we go to the bottom here, what you're going to see is what these APIs look like. So essentially all I'm doing is doing a from date and a to date, and then I am passing this to the IG RV date range. The RV date range can be set to the date filter, and then it simply applies it. And you can see there are some defaults in an enum. So I have all time, last year, this year, etc. So anything that is in this enum here, so if I go to the date time and I go here, all of these can be set programmatically as well with that enum. So very straightforward and very easy. And then for the country API, all I'm doing is getting a reference to the filter. So there's a couple ways to do this. I'm doing it by string, and then I'm setting the selected values array to whatever that happens to be. In this case here, I'm actually getting those country filters, and then I am dynamically setting them when I hit that item in the checkbox. But what's even cooler is, I have all of those visible right now. So if we go back up to our load dashboard to the reveal view, if you remember in the slides, there's all those settings you have for the reveal view and the reveal SDK settings. What I want to do is hide all of the filters. So I'm going to do a Control S here. Let's open this up in the browser. Now you'll see that the filter bar is not visible, but I'm still interacting with those filters. So if you don't want to have that filter experience visible, you don't need to have it visible. You can hide that filter area. Now, if I do a dashboard link, there you go. My reveal view is just loading it into the existing view. There's no filter here, so the user now can't go and change anything. So it's actually pretty slick how you can make this experience look, which means that, you're setting a custom theme on reveal. You can use that same theme in your own filter stuff, and it's just magically going to work. So filtering ends up being pretty powerful. Now, next, let's take a look at this menu item here. So you'll notice these are the 4 default items that we get with reveal: edit, refresh, export, save as, etc. How can we modify that to enable your own custom items? So let's go back to our index webinar. And what I want to do is we're going to scroll down a little bit, we're going to scroll down a little bit, and we're going to see our custom menu options here. And this is the reveal view on menu opening function. So this again is on the reveal view. And what I'm doing here is 2 things. I'm iterating through the existing items in the menu, and I'm hiding export and refresh. Then I'm going to add my own custom buttons. I want a button that says schedule email, and I want a button that says add to favorites. It has a parameter of the name or the item, what it's supposed to say, then what image you want, and then what is the JavaScript event. In this case, I'm simply doing an alert. So you can completely customize what's in the overflow for a dashboard, and you can even do this for a specific visualization. So let's say when someone maximizes a visualization, you want to hide like the export image. All of that's in the docs as well. So if we save this guide, let's right click, open this up in the browser, and we go to our overflow. What we're going to see is we have edit, save as, and then schedule email and add to favorites. And these are just responding to my JavaScript events. Now, one thing I want to highlight is in this code, I did hide these guys manually. Well, we also have reveal view APIs for export, refresh, all that good stuff. So if we go back up to the reveal view, I can manipulate those menu items through the API as well. So I'm going to say can save as equals false and can edit equals false on this reveal view. So now when I view this in the browser and we go to our overflow, what do we see? Just schedule email and add to favorites. So again, complete control over what happens with the menu items. It's up to you on what shows and what hides. Now, one last thing, I think this is the last thing I want to show, is the interactions that you can have with visualizations. Like I want to interact with this column. I want to interact with these bars. Well, when I click on them, you also have a click event, and you can also hide this tooltip. So what I want to do is go back to my code here, and I want to look at some of this tooltip code. So the first thing is I want to cancel the tooltip on this specific order date visualization. So with that, we have the reveal view on tooltip showing, and we can do this by visualization title, by ID, etc. So here, if I view this in the browser now, what we're going to notice is that the order date visualization, there is no tooltip, but there's tooltips over all the other stuff, right? So look, no tooltip here, but nothing is happening on a click or anything like that. So if we go back, we can enable something to happen on the click. So we have the on visualization data point clicked event. Now, this again, we could just do this for a specific visualization. When you click on it, I'm not doing an if here. I'm just literally saying, if someone clicks on it, I want you to, or clicks on the row, I want you to show a message box. And then otherwise in the console, I want to show what's actually happening. So if I save this and I view this in the browser, what we'll see here is when I click on this item, I get a dialog that says, okay, I clicked on the row, column name is order date, the value is this date, December 31st. The data value is going to be 408, which is the 408. So I can actually get this underlying data from anything that I click on. Let's click OK. Let's go click on something else. For example, orders by customer. I still have my tooltip. I got my filter thing here, but let's just click on the bar here. I still get this even though I have the tooltip. So it's up to you how you want this to work, but this is really slick. We have a lot of customers that don't want the tooltip. They want to have these click actions. Absolutely, you can get the row, the cell value of anything, any visualization that you're working with. So if I right click, we'll do inspect, we'll go to the console. You can see here that everything that we were interacting with, all of this data shows up in my console because I was doing that right line for the cell, the row, etc. So having the ability to not only hide tooltips, but to have your own click event and get the underlying data of what you're looking at is also pretty slick. And one other thing I wanted to highlight before we stop is, I did this dashboard link here for the orders, but you can still do dashboard linking on any visualization. So for example, here I have my filter. Filter works great. But what I really want is to do a dashboard link on orders by customer. So it can happen on that click event of a particular column or bar. Of course, we disabled editing. So let's go and let's set can edit equal to true. We'll just comment that out. And I think that's all we need to do there. Control S, open this guy up in the default browser. Let's go to edit and let's edit this chart. And let's go to settings. Whoops. And I'm going to add a dashboard link. So let's go to our, I think customer invoices has some like fields. So I'm going to open customer invoices and let's do the same thing. We'll do customer ID like that. We'll connect customer ID with customer ID, create the link. We'll save this. Now, when I hover over this, I've got open customer invoices for Riksu. I'm going to select it. And now these are all of the invoices for Riksu. So it's almost like what's the underlying data for that particular item. And I'm just creating this as a separate dashboard. So again, pretty slick on what you can do here. We're sort of over time or a little bit over time. Let's jump back to the slides. But I do want to highlight there's some links in the chat for some of the samples and docs. But basically everything that I did ends up being in these GitHub samples for the thumbnail viewer, the dashboard viewer, and SDK samples JavaScript. Okay, that wraps up the demo. Hopefully you saw how easy it was to do everything. I know it was just a lot of commenting and uncommenting of code, but we started with something very basic, like just a simple load dashboard, and then we took it all the way to a bunch of different features and capabilities. You saw the dashboard viewer sample, which I have on GitHub, Angular clients, React clients, backends for Node, .NET Core. Don't have it in Java quite yet, but you can do all that stuff in Java. It doesn't really matter. The idea is we just want you to download stuff, change your endpoints, change whatever you need to do, and you're up and running fast. So go ahead and grab those samples that I put on GitHub and start playing around today. At the same time, please, the poll popped up. answer the poll. Your poll answers help us understand how you expect to use Reveal, the features that you want, and what you expect from Infragistics in general when it comes to our embedded BI story. So we really appreciate your answers. And we do have that survey every year that we publish, which has a lot of these poll questions pulled together. So what is your next step? Download the Reveal SDK today, get a trial license, and get started. So when you go to Reveal BI, download SDK, you will fill out a form, you'll get an email, sales will contact you, you'll get this trial license, and you'll use that to kick off your 30-day trial. What we recommend is that you work with sales. We set up a technical demo. We do a managed POC, very lightweight, takes about 30 days for you to go from zero to having Reveal proven to be what you need for your embedded BI, self-service BI, and analytics experience in your application. So we highly recommend that you do start that interaction with us when you start that download. Then, of course, the SDK samples JavaScript. You saw the other links that we pasted in the chat around my GitHub repo and some of the other samples that you saw today. There's a lot of stuff online that you can just download, hit run on the server, npm install, npm start on the client, and you're rocking and rolling with Reveal with like a pretty cool experience just to get going. That sample, that dashboard viewer sample we saw, it just works. Just run it, and it's awesome. It has all the features, more or less, that I showed in my demo. So get going today with customizing your BI experience, and we're pretty confident you're going to love Reveal, because not only is it simple and beautiful from that user experience perspective, you as a developer and your development team can implement it quite quickly. And from the executive management, from that technical decision maker, it checks all of the boxes when you start talking about how do we do that digital transformation? How do we get self-service BI and analytics? How do we deliver dashboards to our customers? Reveal has all of that. So please try Reveal today. RevealBI.io. Contact sales at RevealBI.io, or of course, email Casey or myself, C. McGuigan, or Jason B. at Infragistics.com, and we will route you accordingly. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us today. We're just about on time. We know you have a lot of polls on your time, but we do appreciate you attending. Hopefully you got some value out of today, and we will see you at the next webinar. Thanks.